Madam Chair, you are live.
Thank you. Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on June 23rd, 2023. Call to order this meeting of Arts and Public Places Commission at 7:05 p.m. Joe, may we have a roll call of attendees, please?
Genevieve,
Here.
David,
Muted here.
Joe here, Jim,
Here.
Cynthia,
Here.
Barbara,
Here.
and Krista and Lynn are not here.
Okay, first on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda on the floor?
This is David. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
And second,
I'll second.
thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Next up is approval of the May 30th, 2023 minutes. Everybody have a chance to read through them? Any corrections need to happen to the minutes? Okay, if no corrections are needed, is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from May 30th, 2023?
I make a motion, Genevieve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Now we can move to the reports from the committees. I will open the floor to the Poet Laureate Subcommittee, please.
Thank you, Genevieve. Hi, everyone. Just to recap, Cynthia and I interviewed some of the, all of the candidates for the next Poet Laureate. And then we got together with subcommittee members, Gwen Manso and Maggie Benshaw. And we had a really good conversation because although we had some really good applicants, we didn't really see someone who had a clear vision. And we went back to the guidelines of the Poet Laureate, where it said that if no appropriate candidate is identified, then the panel may not appoint a laureate or can resubmit. So upon thinking about it, we felt that we needed to broaden our search, get more candidates, get a little more diversity, obviously, and also just to try to get someone who we all kind of agreed had a vision for the city. It's not to say anything about the applicants that we did have. We thought they were really great, but we really wanted to build on what Maggie started. And it was nice to actually have her on the subcommittee and get her feedback on that. Cynthia, I didn't know if you wanted to chime in at this point about some of the things that we discussed.
Barbara, I agree with you completely. And I think this consensus of the subcommittee, the selection committee, was unanimous.
Okay, so at this time, what we decided was that I'm going to go back and redo the paperwork, and we're going to repost in September. That'll give us time this summer, and Maggie has agreed to help us to post online through social media, through the Capitol, get the word out broadly, and get some more applicants, and then take a look at this in the fall so we can have someone by the new year. And I think that is more realistic than what we tried to do, which was try to rush it a little bit. And this gives us a time to look back at our guidelines, and also something we thought about with one of our applicants who was on the younger side, a full-time student, but he had great ideas, was maybe to come up with something like a 1-year youth laureate, kind of like an Amanda Gorman type of position where it's less than a year. They work with the current laureate. And, you know, they kind of bring things to a different community and also broaden the community. And I think we all were kind of really excited about that. So that's something that we're going to look into over the summer. And then we'll get back to you guys about that as well. Does anybody have any questions?
I think it's great.
Okay. And secondly,
Sorry, Barbara. I'm sorry. Just curious about what, I mean, in terms of vision, what did they just didn't have a vision, or they just didn't have an expanded vision? Or can you maybe give a little bit more detail on
Sure,
the lacking of candidates?
sure. We did have a great number of candidates, number one, and the vision wasn't really a new vision. It's basically Maggie's vision plus.
Okay.
which is great, but we wanted someone to kind of think outside the box, think of something new and exciting. And we actually did have one candidate that we thought might possibly be the next laureate, but they had other things going on in their life. And, we had to consider that too, because if,
Right.
for example, if you're a full-time student, you're at university, how much time can you really devote to this? Right.
Mm.
And so we didn't want to shortchange the person or the position. That's why we thought, well, maybe if we created this youth laureate position that was, a year or less, depending on whatever we agree on, make it an age group that's 16 to 20, we kind of get that whole youth vibe going and working in tandem with the next laureate. I really think we could take this to like the next level for the city. And I
Cool.
think everybody on the subcommittee was in agreement on that.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you. All right.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Cool.
The last thing I wanted to mention was Natalie Loeb, who is a poet here in Annapolis. She's 90 years old. She's been a big leader in the poetry community here for many, many years. And she had been a past applicant for the laureate position. She's in failing health, and Cynthia and I both thought it would be really nice if the commission were able to get a citation for Natalie, just to recognize all her hard work on behalf of the city and with the Arts Alliance. So if we could have a voice vote on that, that would be great. And Cynthia and I will work on the paperwork to get that done.
I'm for it.
I would make a motion that we do that.
Okay,
Wait a
I
second. Okay.
great.
All
Thank
those
you.
in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And then I'll be back with you next month with the new application.
Sounds great. Thank you, Barbara and Cynthia.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our gallery updates, and we have invited our gallery coordinator, Audrey Lee, to speak to us about the upcoming schedule that she has for the remaining of the year and any needs that she may have from us. So I'll let Audrey have the floor.
Hi, everybody. And where's my video? There we go. Hi.
Aye.
So I've been working on the galleries for Pitt Moyer Center and City Hall, of course. And it's going really good. So far, we've got a pretty full schedule. I've got a few spots open. So if there are any artists that are available that we can add to our shows, that would be fantastic. So if there's any leads or anything that anybody has, please send them my way. The shows at City Hall, the receptions have not been great this year, just because the garage is closed. And I see that picking up a lot more now that the garage is open. And I think now that more people are coming and will be coming to City Hall because the garage is open, that I think we'll be able to have nicer receptions. I don't have anything else. I mean, we've got some, I just hung a show this morning over at Pitt Moyer. It's an oilist, and her paintings are gorgeous. We had a reception on Saturday for the last show at Pitt Moyer Center, and it was good turnout. We had a little music, and it was really, really pleasant. And hopefully City Hall will pick up. I have a show going up on the 10th, a single artist, and that'll be updated. I already updated it on the spreadsheet, but we'll just have to get somebody for November, December for City Hall, and then I have September and October open for Pitt Moyer Center. Any questions?
Raise your hand, Jim. Okay, now unmute yourself.
You're muted.
Okay. All right, I did it. I had a question.
Yeah.
Do members of the commission receive an email or a message about the opening receptions?
Yeah,
I-
everybody, well, I sent it to the AIPPC email and David and Mitchell, and they all get promoted on the city website, city social media and AIPPC social media.
Okay, I have not been receiving any communications about receptions.
Well, it's mostly just done through the social media when AIPPC posts it.
Okay, but you don't do an email.
I send it to AIPPC email.
It goes out through social media, Jim. It's in Parks and Rec and the city and AIPPC social media posts,
Mhm.
the gallery hangings, the new shows, as well as the receptions.
Okay, so if I don't check my social media regularly, I'm just not going to know about it.
Unless AIPPC shares it with you. I don't send it to everybody on the commission.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to if you want, but it's up to you guys. Any other questions? All right.
So Audrey, if somebody's watching, sorry, I'm trying to get Krista the number to call.
Oh,
her.
sure.
But if somebody's watching, if there's an artist watching, how would they get in touch?
So they can just email me at audreylee@audkaylee.com and or they can email the Arts and Public Places email address and just get hold of me and send an email and just saying you're interested in showing at Pitt Moyer Center or at City Hall, and then we'll take it from there. And I do schedule out over a year in advance. And it's a 2-month show, and it's, starts January, February, and then March, April, and so on. So there's 6 shows per year at each of the different City Hall and Pitt Moyer Center. And we're always looking for creativity, mostly just 2D right now, because we don't have any 3D, podiums or anything like that for 3D. So, mixed media, oil, watercolor, anything you want, acrylic, modern to, realism to whatever you feel inspired to paint. We'd love to have you, and you're required to have about 25 pieces per show, for each show to hang. But again, it's audreylee@audkaylee.com, and I will get you scheduled to come in.
And they have an opportunity to sell their pieces too.
Absolutely.
That are hanging.
Yes, and the pieces are sold through each individual artist.
Yeah. All proceeds go to the artist, so.
Yeah.
Any
Yes.
other questions for Audrey? Well, thank you, Audrey, for joining us. I
Sure.
appreciate it. And we'll see if we
Absolutely.
can get you the 2 artists that are needed for the rest of the year.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your work.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is proposed mural updates. The mural subcommittee. I don't have anything at this time other than the applications that we have on file that we have reviewed. So grant updates. Be Joe and Lynn, and Krista is joining us now, I see.
Mostly what I would say is related, I think, to the RFP, now that the RFP is going to go live. I thought I would reach out to my state arts council contact just to really practically talk about now kind of mapping out the things that we're eligible for, what the criteria are, like what materials, that kind of thing, both for the planning grant and the implementation grant. So I'll do that in the next couple of weeks and maybe have something to report in a month. I do actually, just as a follow-up, we there was, the Bloomberg Foundation had another round of, applications for their sidewalk art project that we applied for last year. And, I think it just came up so fast, there was no time to really kind of, investigate that thoroughly, whether we might reapply for the same project. But I think they're gonna do it again next year, and I think it's probably worth in the next couple of months just seeing if that's still a priority or an opportunity that we might want to pursue.
Yeah, I didn't hear back from Rosalind, but I think if we can put the package together again and bring it over to her with more time, because like it was like a last minute thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Was on their end too. They announced
It
it was a very brief window.
short window. And Eric Lashinsky said that from the planning and zoning perspective, that they'd be happy to support it again. So
Okay. I'll try to remember to bring it up again.
okay,
As we move forward.
okay. Jim,
Yes, Joe, does sidewalk art include the utility boxes that are located in random places around the city?
No, it was much more, it was a very specific site and it was all ground based. I'm kind of blanking on the specifics of
So
it.
sidewalk art is literally that.
so it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was painted pavement and it was to create spaces in needed neighborhoods. So
Both,
The Inner West Street group allowed or had a group that did painting around the Amos Garrett Boulevard West Street intersection. And someone raised concerns to me about federal regulations related to painting the ramps around and crossings of the street. I don't know what those are, and maybe it's totally not applicable, but you might ask somebody in the city about that.
that's why, so Eric Lashinsky was part of that project. That's
Oh,
why,
good, okay.
that's exactly why it went through that office, was to
Good.
make sure all of that was, and they have pretty, and the Bloomberg people have pretty, they're super knowledgeable about both local ordinances and more kind of state and federal stuff. So that all gets kind of covered through the process, I think.
Well, I was in Fredericksburg about 2 years ago, and they had a sidewalk art festival. It was basically a chalk festival where people would do artwork in chalk on the street and on the sidewalks. Some of the stuff was really quite amazing. So that's another medium that people might consider.
okay, let's get back to grants. I do have an update as far as some money for the Westgate Circle. The Arts Council has offered to supply $30,000 to our $50,000 that we already have. So we'll be starting the RFQ with $80,000. I also wanted to update that I've had a couple artists contact me since the articles in the paper, and 2 of them have their own funding. I don't have specific amounts. I know that one said it could possibly be up to 300,000 and the other one said it was around 200,000. So that's not a deciding factor, of course, in the end of who gets to do the sculpture, but there are other means of funding. So having our seed money that we have, and then some artists are able to already have funds available to support their concept. And I plan on talking to our state senator and our delegates as well to see if we can get on for appropriations for next session to get some money that will be applied towards the Westgate Circle. So Sarah has done it before. She's given money for art if she has leftover funds from from the session. So it would be next year's session, but you have to start asking now so they can plan for it out of their budget. So that's something that I'll work on in the meantime. But I did send out the link to the Dropbox RFQ. Did everybody have a chance to look it over? I think we can go ahead and discuss it now since it relates to the grants process, that because we're going to have to figure out other grants and Joe needs to know what to go looking for and everything. So did anybody have any questions about the final RFQ that was put together? So what it is now is it's a request for qualifications versus a request for proposals. So this way we can be a little more flexible with the money amount. Normally when you put out a request for a proposal, you have an exact amount. And at this time, since some of the artists said that they're going to be bringing money and we're still working on the grants end of it and finding funds from state and county, that we figured an RFQ would be the better way to go. So they can still, what it is they fill out the application, they state their qualifications to be able to do this project. They would give us samples of their past works, where they've been installed, the budgets, any detailed information that they want to give us, as well as if they wanted to send in a rough sketch concept for the Westgate Circle, they can do that as well. So Jim, is your hand up from before or you're on mute?
You're still muted. Jim, you're still muted. There you go.
David, if you want to go ahead and I'll wait for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. 2.5 questions, I guess. I know, Genevieve, we've been emailing back and forth. That link from the Dropbox section took you to a weird page, and that's going to be replaced by the page that's on the link in the email. Okay, I kind of figured as much, but when I clicked on it, it took me to a completely different page about funding and granting. I was like, that's not it. But then when I clicked on the link in the email, it was like, okay, cool. That was it. That's my half a question.
Okay.
My other question is, are artists allowed to submit more than one, more than one sample? I mean, like different versions of things. Can they do that as well?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that from there. I just didn't know if that was something we may want to point out, or I guess it's taken for granted that you can submit more than one proposal. Yeah,
I believe when Trisha and I talked about it, that was a possibility, but I'll double check through all the wording and see.
Okay, cool. And the other thing is really neither here nor there, but I noticed they kind of get into history about the bone sculpture. Is there a reason why we kind of went through that and the deterioration and all that? Is that necessary or?
Yeah, so they felt that it was good to have the history of what was there before and why the piece wasn't there anymore, just to give a basic idea of what was installed, what can be installed, and what we're not really looking for. We don't want a temporary structure. We want something to be permanent, and we don't want it to fall apart like the Shoals.
Okay. All right. I just thought it was kind of interesting, but neither here nor there. Okay, cool. Thank you. Jim's on
we have termites. So
there you go.
But I have a question. I really like the RFP and the RFQ. I think this is a really good process. But I do have one concern. Where in this process does the public have the opportunity to address either the commission or the city council or whoever as to how they feel about the finalists, the three final proposals? I don't want to burden us with having them look at all the proposals and all of that, because that can get really out of control. But the last three proposals, it might be nice to have a public forum where, or some kind of an event where we can allow the public to express their likes, dislikes, concerns, or suggestions. That was my only other concern. And I think it's pretty good so far. I'm a little curious as to why we don't have. I might offend somebody if I say this, but the major galleries who have people who have experience in this type of street art. I mean, a big scale street art. Why they aren't in some way involved in this process. That's why I feel if we can do it with the public, maybe we'll get input from them.
Okay, so outlined in the RFQ, it states that there will be a board of 6 people. 3 of them are from the commission. One of them that was chosen to be from the commission does deal with art daily and curates art. And that's Joe, and he knows about installing art and large pieces. In addition to that, there will be 3 people selected from the public, and that's something that we'll work on while the applications are coming in. And so we'll have 3 people hopefully who, have experience, whether it's engineering or, art or whatever it is that we decide to pick. So I think the commission will do that. We have plenty of time over the summer to find those 3 candidates to sit on the selection committee with us. After the selection committee does choose the final 3, I believe we can get them published in the paper. We can post them on the internet. We can put them on social media. We can put our email out, and ask, for any public comment, feedback. Our public comment link is always on our webpage. It's always open for people to send in their thoughts and comments. So that would be the process for that, Jim.
Will this go out on our social media at some point, and will be on the website?
Yes, it'll be posted on the website. It'll be out on social media, as well as the Arts Council sends it out. They also send it out as a press release. So it'll be blasted everywhere. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Krista. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you, Genevieve, and those who you've been gathering the input from and working on this. I mean, I know this has been a really long process, and I'm excited to know that we're, coming around the corner. And I just wanted to give a shout out on record for all the work that you've put in on this and all the coordinating you've done.
Thank you, Krista. David has his hand up. I'll let him have the floor.
Just really quickly, I was looking at the timeline. We have the RFP going on the 1st, and then information artists going out a week later. Is that realistic?
Yeah. So in the email I sent out, Trisha does say that date is going to have to change. So we were discussing it back and forth. I know a lot of our artists do have day jobs, so we were trying to figure out an evening later in the month of July, more towards the end of July, where we can have the informational meeting and help anybody with the application process, walk them through.
Okay, cool.
And, maybe even do a site survey if we can, from afar, or if traffic's not bad, then we can cross the street. But just make sure that we get that either in the evening or on a weekend or something, maybe at Maryland Hall. We're still throwing that around. So that date would change.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Joe?
Krista beat me to it, but first I was going to say, I really appreciate particularly the article that popped up about the site. I thought that was a really nice encapsulation of the process and kind of the way it talked about sort of past, present, and future of that site, I thought was really nice. So thank you for that. This is a little bit of a follow-up to Jim's question. The presentations that come to us and city representatives on November 5 and 6, are those open meetings? Are those like, is that an opportunity for public comment or no?
So I don't know, public comment can be, like there'll be a public notice that these meetings would happen, and then public comment could be submitted prior to the meeting. If it works out with scheduling, I'm going to see with the city TV if they can broadcast it. That way we can have the video of it and it can be reposted if people can't watch it live. So that's stuff on the city end that I still have to figure out.
Okay.
But we'll try to make it as available as possible.
Okay.
And
But
that's a separate meeting, right, Genevieve, from our
that
meeting?
is, yeah, that's a separate meeting. That's just to go through the proposed pieces with like Department of Public Works and with planning and zoning to ensure that it checks all of their boxes for safety and structural engineering.
Got you.
And
Okay.
then the final 3 would be submitted to us via our meeting. So our last meeting, and then we have a decision after that meeting of who would be selected. So those final 3 would be broadcasted as well through our meeting. So.
Yeah. Oh, I just thought I had one other quick thing I totally forgot. This is actually also, Jim, your comment about galleries and representation. I think that those constituents' advocacy is super important once the process has started. I think representation in selection is just one of the things that, in my experience, can give the public perception that it's a bunch of experts choosing something for the rest of us, if that makes sense. I don't necessarily think that's accurate, but I think the strongest position that kind of other local arts organizations and galleries and stuff like that can be is to give as much vigorous input as they can while the process is ongoing, and to encourage their own audiences to do the same. That's like the key role for them, because they've got a lot of knowledge and they have a lot of informed audiences, and kind of tapping those people for feedback is pretty key.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions or comments about the RFQ?
It's exciting.
I know it's a long
I
time.
can't
coming,
wait.
so
I'm
I
curious to
can't
see
wait
what
to
comes
see the
in.
concepts.
Just flashing back to the first time I was on the committee and we did this, we had like 3 submittals.
It's very encouraging that people are already reaching out. That's really good news.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
People are very excited, so
Cool. Can't wait.
it'll be fun. Okay. Well, at this time, do we have a motion on the floor to approve the RFQ that was sent over?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have all those in
Can
favor.
I third it?
What's that?
Can I third it?
Sure. Yes, you can. 4th, 5th, 6th. Everybody say aye if you're in agreement.
Aye.
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 All right. Good.
Anyone
Aye, aye,
opposed
aye.
to the RFQ being published? Okay. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. And I will have them make the submittals go live on July 1st. When we get them, I will put them in the Google folder and I'll let everybody know so people can start looking at them from the commission. I just ask, please don't share them with the general public until it's time. Okay. And then we'll work on finding the other 3 people from our community that will sit on the selection committee with us. And then I will get that date changed and I will check with the city about broadcasting any special meeting that we may have, if it fits in their schedule and if they have it in their budget. That's always, just remember, we're asking to pay staff for an extra viewing possibly, so. Next, we have public outreach updates. Outside of just working on this Westgate Circle, that's all I've been really focusing on right now. And, you know, Audrey does the galleries, and I think that really is our biggest public outreach that we have at the time. The City Dock Summer Concert Series, we are definitely back. The city is extremely busy. I don't know if everybody's been going downtown, but the traffic flow is definitely like pre-COVID. So I think recovery is in full force. The attendance to the events that are happening down at City Dock are being very well attended and well received. So far, so good. All of our bands that have played have been extremely happy. Tango's first night, they gave free class at 6 o'clock, and that was well attended as well. In fact, Paul Gillespie from the Capitol did a little pictorial the word just escaped me, but he came and he took pictures and he posted and he spread the word about it, which Eddie loved, that, you know, he was getting attention from the Capitol about tango. So I anticipate the next tango night, which is the second Friday in July, will probably be even more attended. So that's exciting. He decides like a couple days before if they have the ability to give free classes again before the tango. So if he does, he lets me know, and then I post on social media, and then Parks and Rec shares it as well as the city. So to get everybody in the know of that. David, did you have any public outreach?
I do not.
Okay. We will go into budget. I did put the newest copy of the budget in the folder for the applications for approval that were submitted. Or in the folder, it says applications for review 6/27/23. And I also put the copy of the vendor payment with it, which outlines where our funds really are based on our votes. And with the outstanding invoices, Michelle has submitted all of these, so I will change it, but she has submitted all of these invoices. So they're just in procurement side of the processing. So hopefully checks will go out and all of these blue highlighted bars will become green. The March on Washington mural hasn't happened yet, so there has not been an invoice submitted. And I did talk to Eric from the Pride Festival, and he was on vacation. He was out of town. I don't know if it was vacation, so maybe I shouldn't say that. He was out of town. But when he gets back, he will submit that invoice. So once that is there, it'll be highlighted as well as submitted. So the current budget funds before our appropriated funds through votes and through the city concerts payouts is $113,859. We granted by vote and yet to be invoiced is $15,000. We set aside the $50,000 for the Westgate Circle and $30,000 for the summer programming, which is paying for the concerts, and then the $10,000 for the maintenance budget. And so available for grants at this point is $8,759.28. I spoke to finance, and our new funds aren't there, obviously, based on the report. I'm hoping by July 1st, which is when the funds get distributed for, the new fiscal year. So hopefully we'll have it then. If so, or as soon as it gets deposited, I'll notify all of our applications that are on hold that they will be able to come present for funds. So, and then we'll have a spending vote, but this is where we sit for now. And then lower down on that spreadsheet, I do have what is projected to be our new deposit. They said it was roughly around 150,000. And then if we appropriate another 10,000 to our maintenance budget, and if we hold another 30,000 for summer programming for 2023, then we'll be at roughly around $118,000 going into fiscal year 2023. So with that in consideration, our total of current reviewed grants is $98,958. I broke it down who's asked for what and how much, and then that would leave us with 19,000 basically for the remaining of the year of fiscal, if we gave the full amount of the ask for fiscal year 2023. And then we have additional ones that we will review tonight. So I think it's very important that when we do come up to the spending vote in July, hopefully, that we take into consideration that, we may not be able to give full asks to everybody, but to make sure that we're focusing, per our code and our rules and procedures with allocating our funds. So we'll definitely review those before we have a spending vote. Any questions on the budget? Jim?
I have a couple questions, not specific dollars, but we have a lot of outstanding grant requests, and I'm not quite sure how they were disposed of or which ones are active. Which ones are still considered. For example, the Parole Health Center we paid for, but Maryland Hall's Path of Bumblebee, I think we voted to reject that. Is that correct?
So let me just correct what you said though, because we didn't pay for the Parole Health Center. The Parole Health Center is using Jeff Huntington as their artist, so that makes them ineligible for consideration until after July 1st. So all of the applications for grant funds that we have reviewed as a commission are on hold. They've just been tabled until we have money to hold a spending vote.
So that one is on hold. I just want to try to get
The Parole Health Center is on hold. The Bumblebee cannot be paid for because it's retroactive. And we agreed as a commission through a vote not to pay for retroactive projects.
Okay. And Art Walk is still under consideration?
Yes. All the other grant applications are still open and tabled until we have funds for the
2 jazz festivals?
All of them. All of them. They're still in there. They're still in the folder for consideration for review.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I had a read on who was in and who wasn't. In doing that, I looked at the totals that these people were asking for. Now, obviously, they probably won't get the totals, but it's a lot of money. These are big grant requests. And some of them are to people who charge for their event through their vendors. They don't have a ticket charge per se, but they charge their vendors. They're not a 501(c), which is nonprofit. And some of them have huge bank accounts, which they don't spend. which is contrary to the standard policy with nonprofits. So my concerns are that we don't really have, and I'm sure I'm going to be told I'm wrong, but I don't think we have our policies all thought through or laid out or printed somewhere. I know that you have some experience and have some in your mind, but I looked through the record and I could not see that we had any disqualifying characteristics listed anywhere
So,
or any approvable or characteristics.
well, there are. So in the application, if you go through our standard application and you read all the way through it, the artist has to sign at the bottom after all the qualifications that tell them what is considered for the application. Then on the bottom of the application, we have our check boxes. We have our questions that we should ask. We absolutely do have a few disqualifying cases. And one of that would be, of course, whether we've already donated to them within our fiscal year. And that's why we put people off until after July 1st when the new fiscal year starts. Other than that, there are preferences that are outlined in our procedures and our codes as far as, whether they're a local artist, versus, somebody else that has to be taken into consideration. Doesn't mean we'll refuse somebody who doesn't live locally, but we do try to support local first. Also, one of the questions is, are you getting money from another entity or government? So we take that into consideration, whether they're getting funds from somebody else and how much. And what you've brought up are very good things to discuss after the presentation before we vote on spending. Do they happen to have the funds? Are they getting the funds from somebody else? Have we given to them before? That's another thing that is in our rules and procedures and our code. We technically are supposed to spread the money around. It was started to help support artists that maybe, starting out, not continuously giving to the same artist over and over and over, or the same programming or the same event over and over and over every year. I think need is definitely something that we need to look at when we're thinking about voting and how much to give money to the applicants, and their ability to find money elsewhere too, so we're not an ATM machine, we're not just a constant guaranteed bankroll. We are here to support artists, maybe even you could say like seed money, if it's a new concept of an event that the city would benefit from and the community and the art, the artisans would benefit from, then we should look at definitely supporting something like that and so on. So these are conversations that we definitely need to have when reviewing the applications. And after they give their presentation, allow them the time, to give their pitch to us, why that they would like AIPPC to support their project, what their needs are, and answer our questions. And then afterwards, we ourselves have a discussion about that particular presentation before we make a vote on spending. So it's very valid. And there is a process, and it's not just something in my head. It is something that we have written out in our code and rules and procedures on the application. The artists are made aware of these things on the application. I think at the time that they do their presentation, maybe we should start mentioning some of these rules and procedures, because they may forget, it's been a couple months since they put in their applications, but I think keeping the dialogue and communication open as to how we look at the applications and verify and decide on our votes comes into play. And then after we do vote, Joe does send out a notice of decision that explains to the artist what the decision was, what the vote was, and the reasons why. So That's our rules and procedures.
I mean, that's very good, but I have two other questions. The Arts Council for Anne Arundel County has a little tighter process because they require that the entity submitting a request for funds provides a P&L, their annual P&L, so that the council can see what is really their status of need. They also require that they be 501(c) entities as opposed to other entities which are not exactly nonprofit. And I just thought that there are some things there that might be really helpful and more objective than subjective if we include them in our package of rules for receiving a grant. But
So,
thank you for the reminder about what's in the in there.
yeah, so that is part of our job as commissioners on this commission, is to establish a set of rules and procedures of how we operate and how we deliver our grant money. So if there's anything that anybody on the commission feels that should be added, or, you know, rule and procedure changed, then we would develop that verbiage with the law office, with our legal liaison, with Ashley. And then it can be brought to the commission and to be discussed and made a motion, you know, to either approve it, move it forward, or to table it, or to deny it being added. So if anybody feels that it would help our process to add rules and procedures, let's do it. Like, let's discuss it. Let's, you know, get something in writing that we can discuss and vet and see if it's needed. I'm totally open for that.
And I appreciate all of that. And I hope we will have a special meeting where the commission can get together with the legal counsel if need be, and, you know, just go through this and make sure that we've tightened up our schedule. Because here's the problem. The word is out that we're getting $200,000+ to give out. And folks are lining up to clean out the cash register. So what we really need to do is tighten up how we're going to go about this, or we're just going to be giving money to big organizations who have professional staff to come here and, you know, sweet talk us with their proposal. And we're paying for parts of their events that they just want to write off that expense. And normally it would be part of their revenue stream or their fee structure with their vendors and so forth. So I just think that we really need to have a clear idea of what we're going to ask and how we're going to get that information, because I get really unhappy when I see small people who come in for $2,000 sort of pushed behind people that are asking for $60,000, $38,000, $45,000. Those are really professional proposals, more or less. And they're not bad, but we really need to put a cap on those. And we ought to have some maximum criteria so that we don't overspend on 5 people where we could easily cover 15.
Right. So that's our due diligence as a commission when we come together and we review these applications. You know, we can.
Yeah, this is Krista.
Hold on, Krista.
Can I jump in?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
We can, you know, we can deny an application too. Like, we can say, no, we're not going to hear this application. We're not going to allow you to present, and here's why. Or we can hear it, the presentation, and we can ask all of these questions. You know, we can ask for further information. That's why we've been reviewing the applications prior to presentations. Like, if you want a P&L, if you think that we need further information, more clarification of where this money goes, that kind of stuff, those requests can definitely be made ahead of time. So, this is all up to us in order to do this and to do our due diligence. Now, we don't have to give them the full amount that they ask. Of course not. We can decide different amounts. We've done that numerous times, mainly based on our budget, because we didn't want to spend it all on one grant. We want to make sure that we can spread the money around. And that's just something that we decide together. That's fine. It's totally fine. So
The only problem with that is it's very subjective. It's not fair to everyone. They don't have, it's not a clear playing field. And it's not characterizing what we're doing as wrong, but it's going to get us into trouble at some point. And I just feel that if we tighten this up a little bit more, it would be to our advantage, and it would also be a clear message to people. And for example, we have all these applications in, and I don't recall our going through these applications as a commission and discussing them, where we've had 3 or 4 meetings to do that.
Okay, Jim, we have to get this meeting back on track.
I got that, but wait, let me just finish this and I'll stop. And I've been very patient.
We've reviewed all of the applications except for the 3 that we have right now that we're going to review tonight. We went through all of them at the past meeting all together. That's what we've been doing. So it has been done.
Jim,
Okay.
I would just refer you to the minutes that you just approved from last month's meeting, where the line by line, it says that we discussed each of those proposals.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure we're tight on this.
We hear you, and we're
Thank
not
you.
disagreeing.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Krista?
Yeah, you said everything that I wanted to say, and that was, the purpose of our commission is to do all of those things. And we are all very aware of wanting to support our local artists, particularly those that are in need. And that's, of course, one of the reasons why the commission was established as well. We also, I think, have the duty to look at the actual art itself, and to some extent be a little blind as to who the artist is, and actually look at the art and take that into consideration when making the decision. So again, as Genevieve has stated, we look at everything. And it's a tough task at times. And yes, we are getting more money, which makes it better for our community to be able to prove these monies out. But just like Genevieve said, that's what our commission is for. That's one of the main reasons we're together. So anyway, you pretty much said it all. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Krista. Do I have any other questions on the budget before we move on to review the applications that we have, the new ones that came in since last month? Okay. Well, we will move on then. So Audrey already gave her gallery update. And under new business, the next thing on the agenda would be the Friends of Annapolis Symphony Orchestra Christmas tree ornaments. So they're asking for money to help fund. They're decorating the Christmas tree downtown this year. And the symphony will be performing as well, I believe. So the ask was for $2,000, and they're working with the children to make which I think it's on here, to make the decorations. Oh, it's not. Okay. So in the email that she sent the application, she expressed how they were going to go about making the decorations, and they're going to work with the children to do it. I thought there was a side note that told that, but when we bring them for their presentation, they'll present what they're looking to do. They're talking about getting some die cuts done and then having the children decorate them for the tree, with the use of that money. And I did get their vendor application and submitted it to procurement, so that should be all set as well. Did anybody have any questions or concerns about this application?
I think, kind of read the small print here because it's really teeny down the bottom there, but it
Yep.
might be helpful just to get any breakdown of the cost of materials too.
Okay,
If we can get that prior to, if the, I mean, and in school, I understand, it's a big tree, a lot of
Yes.
stuff to decorate. So, but just a list of cost materials will be helpful.
yes. Yep, I'll ask them for that. Any other comments? Okay. So next up is the Inner West Street Association Arts Events application. So when they originally submitted this to us, they were not eligible, and they're not eligible until after July 1st because we gave to them in the last fiscal year. It is again for Dinner Under the Stars and First Sunday Arts Festival music sponsorship. And it goes just to the musicians directly to pay the musicians. So, well, it doesn't go directly. So the check is cut and goes to Inner West Street Association for them to pay directly to their artists that play. It would cover them starting in August through August of next year. So that would be the fiscal year. And then that would stop their eligibility for being able to present again until after our next fiscal year. So that'd be fiscal year 2025, sorry. Always working a year in advance. Is there any questions regarding these applications?
Yes, I have a question.
Go
I have
ahead,
a couple comments. The Inner West Street Association, which is making this application, could loan us money. They have a very huge bank account. They do not make grants. By and large, they don't, that I know of. They basically are banking that money that they make on every First Sunday Arts Festival. At the end of the year, they generate revenue somewhere, because there are no reports, between $28,000 and $40,000 in gross profit at the end of a year. And that goes into this fund, which is now upwards of $300,000. But they still don't make grants out they don't spend that money in the community, is what I'm trying to say, other than the money that they generate from the vendors who work at these events. So I think it's really not a good idea that they be considered for such a dramatic amount of money. I mean, it's $38,000 is a lot of money. And I think it's really, I don't think we should give them that much money, period. And I think it should be either substantially lower or not at all, because they raise their money through vendor fees and they make a profit of vendor fees, and they are not a 501(c)(3).
Okay.
So I think that this is something that has been discussed in that community, and I think we should be very wary of this proposal.
Okay. Thank you. Duly noted, Jim. Dave?
Thank you.
Yeah, just basically Jim saying, that's what we're here for. So knowing that, I mean, I think we're armed with some questions to present to them when they come present to us and say, hey, we understand you may have some surplus money. Why are you asking us for money when you have money? So I think, knowing that information, that's why we're here. We can ask those tough questions, get the answer. And if we don't like it, but we're here, then we don't don't fund them. We control the horizontal and vertical. Basically, we don't have to give anybody money we don't want to, as long as we have just reason for it. And I think if they got $300,000 sitting in the bank, then why are they asking us for anything?
If somebody asks for a small amount of money, it may not be necessary to get their financials, but these are big organizations that make a lot of money.
100%. If you got that much cash in the bank, you really shouldn't be asking us for anything.
We should have verified financials from them, because we need to just be careful. And remember, there are a lot of people out there going to look for opportunities, and we don't need to be fools about this.
No, we just got to be smart. That's the right question.
I think they do a great job. Don't misunderstand me.
No, I'm not passing judgment.
We don't think that you're ripping on IWSA.
Okay.
We think you're just asking for more information to see the need, and that's fine.
Yes,
And that is us doing our due diligence. So we definitely can ask them for a breakdown, and as well as, for them to show us their financial need. I just wanted to say that why we started contributing to them was out of the recovery of COVID. They wanted to do it. They wanted to start it up again, and funds were low at that time, because of COVID. And then this has just been a recurring ask from them since then. So just to make that clear for publicly. Joe?
This is just a real quick practical follow-up, because I share the same concerns, but on the application, it does indicate how much money we gave them last year, and it is a fraction of what they have asked for this year. So to your concern about the ask versus what we might give them, it's clear from the record that we've covered this territory a little bit in the past over an application like that.
Good. Thank you.
Anybody else regarding the Inner West Street Association applications? Okay, we will move on to Victoria.
Sorry, Genevieve.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just real quick, just for the minutes, you're going to ask for additional information. You're going to ask for more detailed financial information about the events. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm going to ask them to prove the need.
Okay.
Of support.
And then that's for both the festival and the Dinner Under the Stars, or just the festival? Because they're two applications.
That's right.
It's for both of them. Yeah,
Okay.
for the first Sunday, and yes.
Thank you.
It's one organization, and they run two events.
Right.
And the organization's financials should be part of the package that they present to us. And I think that's not an unreasonable thing for us to do. And thank you, Joe, for your comments. And David, I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Genevieve.
Yep. Thank you, Jim. Okay. Then let's move on to Victoria Bruce's documentary film proposal application. Just trying to pull it up.
Oh.
I read it, but now,
Peaches and Boo Boo. Miss
Peaches
Peaches
and Boo Boo.
Boo Boo. Clever title.
I love the name. What is going on here? What are they doing? Is this for kids?
Okay, hold on, Jim. I'm gonna let Barbara, she raised her hand, so hold on.
Yeah, thanks, Genevieve. I was looking through this application. There's the one part that's highlighted under, it says budget allocation for 60K from AIPPC. Unfortunately, she doesn't have these pages numbered, but it looks like it's on PDF page number 2. And she breaks it down to like pre-production costs, 5K, research and development, 2K, story development, 1,000, location scouting permits, 1,000, crew recruitment, 1,000. And then she does production and post-production. I guess with something like this, obviously we're not going to, because we don't have the money, number one, shell out the whole 60K, but could we maybe look at this and see where we can help her the most in terms of where the money that from AIPPC would go the best? Would it be better in the pre-production or the post-production or whatever. I don't know if you guys have taken, look at it as well.
Yeah. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm gonna raise my hand.
Yeah, so I'm sharing it on my screen right now. So you can see, and she did break it all down, which is fabulous, which I
Yeah.
wish more applications would do this.
And she
And
even
I-
put like other sources of her funding, which I thought was great, like from the Arts Council. She said in progress and what,
Yes.
so that's great.
So, David, go ahead, David.
I guess my thoughts in response to Barbara's comments. I mean, I would feel comfortable. I mean, this film hasn't been made yet, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes,
Yeah,
no,
so-
it has not.
Yeah, I mean, you want to help people get stuff started, but at the same time, money doesn't grow on trees. So, I mean, supporting post-production or, that's just my thought, just throwing that out there.
That's where I was leaning to, David, because I wanted to see what was created first before we start.
Yeah, because it may be something that's controversial that we got our name on. If they got something crazy, I doubt that it will be, but you never know. Somebody's always mad about something that somebody says. So, I like to see the product before we put our name on that, just to make sure passes our standards. And
I agree. Can we ask her if she has like a clip or a synopsis of, or storyboard or something?
well, I mean, I'm looking for an actual something of a finished, even if it's something that's done, that's that's
Right.
there, that kind of gives us versus
Oh,
they
some of
can
her
give us something
previous-
now and do something completely different in the editing room. So
Yeah. So there is a synopsis included in
Right.
her application in there, and it's I'm sharing it on the screen now. So it's about
Well-
a friendship here.
Did we receive this document, all these documents?
it's in the
Yeah.
it's in the
Yeah.
in the
It's in the
folder.
folder, in the Google folder.
All right,
Jim-
I'll talk to you about that later. I'm sorry, I didn't find them. But that's not your fault. That's my techno wizardry is weak. I think we could probably find something in there to help her with, but I don't,
Point of order, I've got my hand up, Jim.
I'm sorry, I
hold on.
apologize.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Joe.
I actually want to take a little bit of a bigger step back, which actually relates to, I think, Jim's concerns he was articulating earlier. This is the closest I've seen while I've been on the commission to something that looks like an individual artist grant to a private artist. And that seems a little different than what we have funded in the past, or kind of a little bit outside of our like our central mission, because essentially, not just because it hasn't been produced yet, but we have absolutely no idea what public access would result from this funding. And on the other hand, it's a film production. It's not just, an artist asking to produce a body of work, but the analogy is the same. And I'm just a little concerned about that coming our way. And that seems new to me. So I just want to raise that as a little bit of an existential question for us, because I don't think this is the type of grant. I don't think it's an anomaly that we may start getting requests for this type of help with the production of individual works of art. So, and then kind of I was kind of looking through the breakdown, which is really, really helpful. And then it seems like, well, a thing that might be appropriate for us would be things like scouting locations or helping with permits, or things that actually interface with the city, if that makes sense. That we're offsetting costs that would be incurred by the artist through work inside the city, if that makes sense at all. So that's kind of two very embedded concerns, I think, that I'm raising.
Yeah, so this is really like uncharted territory for us. We haven't done a visual arts grant on this level before, but it does fall within being visual arts. So working our way through this, that's why we have these discussions, definitely. And I hear all of your concerns. What if we gave money and for some reason she wasn't able to finish it? What happens to that money? What happens to the unfinished material? In the synopsis, there is a link to this video as well. It's that's what they're using for fundraising. I wanted mention too that Vicky did say that she does have a nonprofit that the money could go to instead of directly to Vicky. So that can be handled that way too. And we can just change the application to reflect that. So definitely make sure that you go through all of this information that she gave us, because she did break it down and did a really wonderful job with the package. Did I answer all of your questions, Joe?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I just think it's a bigger discussion for us, not necessarily about this individual proposal, but as you said, we're in the territory now.
Yep. Yes. And I think especially with us supporting the free public access at the film festival, it opened up some avenues to young directors and screenwriters and oh hey, this might be another opportunity to get funding to tell local stories. And I think that is definitely something else that we can take into consideration is is the story about Annapolis? Is it about our city? What is it? And does it, again, like we have some concerns, not necessarily with this piece of work, but future pieces of work, what is the story being told? Is it something that we want our name on? What if the story changes directions in production? Like these are things that we definitely need to figure out if we're going to go down the avenue of supporting film production. Any other voices with comments? Cynthia, go ahead.
Yes, Joe, in reference to your comment, the last time we had a presentation similar to this, it was from Deanie Henson. She wanted $10,000 from the commission to tell the story of Cars Beach. And it was entitled The Sands of Time.
Jim?
Just 2 points. I've known Vicky Bruce for a while, and she's a very reliable person as far as her ability, and this would be a quality production. I'm just asking you, Genevieve, to contact me separately and talk to me about how to get access to those documents. I just couldn't quite figure it out. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow at that. And secondly, you need to start shopping for your runway gown when she gets an Academy Award.
Is Genevieve the only one who gets to go?
I know. Everybody
The
can
rest
go,
of us
right?
are chopped liver, Jim. Just
We
Genevieve?
can
I'm going to have to buy a tux. Are you kidding? Oh my God.
Rent one. Well,
I'll
anything
keep an eye out
goes.
at Goodwill. I'm sure I'll find something where I can do it.
Anything goes. Okay. So moving forward with this application, how do we want to move forward? What do we need to ask Vicky to provide to us? Do we feel more comfortable if she does it through the nonprofit? What else do we want?
Does she have other funders? I mean, do we have a right to ask that? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's on the application.
It is on the application. Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember seeing some names and money.
Yeah.
Okay.
yep, it's a valid question.
Okay.
Joe?
It was about the nonprofit, just to sort of ask what that would look like or how that might reconfigure what the breakdown of the money looks like.
Okay,
And I guess, and I don't want to jinx her, but if, things go south and she doesn't actually complete the film, then, where do the funds go, or, what
Yeah.
happens to the footage, or, I don't know, something to that effect. But I don't
Yeah.
want to jinx her with that, but I think it's an important question.
right. And then, Barbara suggested we go through the breakdown and figure
Yeah.
out, the things that we feel are most necessary for us to participate in for funding. So,
Right.
so why don't everybody take the time to review the breakdown and send your thoughts in email to the AnnapolisAIPPC@gmail.com. And then I can refer that to her, as well as get the nonprofit application discussed with her. So, and then these other questions would be really good questions to address to her directly, probably before presentation, I would say, then, as far as, what ifs, and, and it's mainly just because, this is kind of a variable art project versus us, supporting performing arts, we normally know if that happened or not, and we normally know the community's reaction to the show, or or the gallery hanging, or the implementation of an art piece. So we just need to figure it out as a commission what we would like to ask from projects like this before and after the presentation, and just get us into a space where we feel that we could support projects like this. So definitely, I think all these thoughts are very valid, and I will address them with her. Anything else on this application? Okay, and Jim, I'll show you how to use the Google links that we're sending out in the emails. Okay. Under unfinished business is Old Fourth Ward Unity Day event. I just wanted to notify everybody that she did submit all of the band's paperwork, and how the Unity, how the payout works is that the city pays directly to the bands. The money doesn't go to her as the applicant. So I did receive all of those and their invoices if upon we approve, and then we'll submit them to procurement to be paid. And they've been added to her folder from our last commission meeting in May. Okay. So now we're to open discussion. Raise your hand if you would like to have open discussion on the floor. Wow. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
It's David. I have a motion. I make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed?
I.
Thank you, Krista. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I'll send these notes out, and appreciate all of you, and have a good evening.
Have a safe 4th of July, folks.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.